Hello, my name is Brian Burnham, and this is my personal introduction video for EDL 853 Module 1. These are just some introductory pictures of me. I am a big fella, as you can tell in the screen right here, and you'll see my pictures down here. I'll get to those in a few minutes. First, we'll start over here. This is me and my girlfriend. We've been together for about 6 months, relatively new relationship. She's great. We just recently got back from a trip to Pensacola, Florida. So that's us sitting on the beach and obviously watching the sunset, you know, all the romantic vibes that women like to do. Over here are my nieces and nephew. This is my brother's kids, Kennedy, and then Harper. And then my sister's children, Rosie and Everest. I really love being an uncle. They both, brother and sister, live relatively close, so we're within an hour of each other, so I get to see them quite often, which is great. Here in the middle, where most of the pictures are, is my boy Axel. Obviously, I have very strong feelings for him. He is a pit bull. He's the American Staffordshire Terrier version. I am a Cincinnati Bengal fan, so I bought him a jersey. Actually, Kelsey bought him a jersey, and she put him in that. I don't know if he loves it or not. Here is him in his Yoda Halloween costume, and just some random. He's on top of the desk in our coach's office. Here's a picture of him where he was actually really young in this picture, but he looks old, mature, and really like muscular, so I thought that was pretty awesome. And then here's him being lazy, him outside the car, him getting a pup cup at Starbucks, all the things. And then finally, like I said, I am a football coach. So this is our facility. This is probably the best it's ever looked. That's why we took the picture. It is a grass field. However, I think we're supposed to be getting field turf this summer, so we'll see if that happens. Painting the field is one of my least favorite things to do as a coach. This is me on the sideline at the state championship. We were fortunate enough to play in the last 3 state championships, 2 in Class 5A and 1 this past year in Class 6A, which is the biggest public school classification in Tennessee. This past year we were playing the number 10 team in the country, the Oakland Patriots. You can look them up. They are pretty good. We had a tailback going to Georgia, receiver going to Florida International, and I think another receiver going to Miami. And then here's a picture after the game of myself speaking to, this is Destin and Keaton Wade. Pay attention to those 2 names. Those guys are going to go on to play football at the University of Kentucky. They're going to do extremely big things. They're super talented. I'm 6'3", obviously a large man. You can see all that. I know I'm hung up on that, but self-conscious, I guess. But I'm 6'3", and they're both, Keaton or Destin and I are eye level, and Keaton's actually a little bit taller than I am. Keaton's about almost 6'5", weighs about 235. He's going to play outside linebacker, Kentucky. And then Destin's 6'4" and about 220, plays quarterback. Obviously, they can play multiple positions. They played multiple positions for us. Destin was exclusive of our quarterback. We didn't do anything else with him for fear of injury. He was so integral to what we did on the field, so we didn't want to get him hurt. But Keaton was a running back. He played receiver. He played outside linebacker. He played slot receiver, tight end if we needed him to. Anything we needed, he was able to do that, and he's an absolute beast. Like I said, they're going to be playing in Kentucky. They're special. And here's a picture of our team. Pretty exciting. We were pretty good, like I said, and this is a great shot of the last game of the season and the last game of these seniors' careers. So, observations from the resources that I took. An administrator's role in maintaining an inclusive culture in their building comes from 4 strategies, according to the Ministry of Education in New Zealand. They should value what each student brings. I think this starts with the principal valuing what each of his or her staff brings to their classrooms. Also, establishing a respectful class climate by first making sure that all faculty and staff adhere to the same type of culture on a professional level. They should plan for everyone to participate and achieve. Teachers must have the ability to ensure the success of all students in their classroom and not just the typical learners. And then taking a community approach by encouraging staff collaborate with each other, creating a partnership between staff and parents, and also involving local businesses in school activities. An inclusive school includes acceptance of all students regardless of gender, race, religion, and sexual orientation. A principal could potentially create an advisory council, I love this idea, or a cabinet and focus on school culture as your main priority. Brainstorm ways that you can create more accepting school systems. Don't have numerous goals. Collaborate with the team to establish one goal and make that one plan of action. That's from DeWitt in 2011. Best practices for educational leaders to promote inclusion and advocate for every student's involvement within the classrooms of their schools. We need to have academic support in place. I'm at a school that we've actually had this going for about 4 years now, where we didn't have a specific amount of help for math and reading, so we created it ourselves. That has to be done. That's what you have to do to reach all learners. Then you need to put your heads together and develop that. We took it a step further from beyond the RTI-2 model that everybody's pretty familiar with. So we have intervention strategists and people involved in that process. Prepare teachers. Teachers without training may also use hurtful language or perform other microaggressions like mispronouncing names of students of color. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but when it happens, even though they may not get upset about it, it still can kind of be a pang of contention that they carry with them, and that can be stressful. Curriculum. We should look at the curriculum, and the process must include methods to show concepts like privilege, oppression, global power structures, and racism. Not to dive too deep, but everybody's pretty familiar with where we've been the last few years with bouts of systemic racism and overpopulation of prisons and all the things. I'm not going to get into everything, but we can start with a curriculum and teach these kids about everything and make sure everybody's included and feels welcome to learn. Integrate student bodies. Be willing to redraw school zones to break down natural barriers. One of my least favorite things about teaching in Tennessee and where we are is they'll use natural barriers as cutoffs, for example, like railroad tracks or something like that. So if you live on one side of the railroad tracks, then you go to this school. If you live on that side, you go to that school. And that creates sometimes, because of housing developments and things like that, there's a breakdown in social economic status among students in a school. So I think that can be looked into as well. Adjust ranking calculations. You need to be able to evaluate students based on the diversity of the population and also intercultural understanding. Take all that into account. Create a respectful school community. Hire a staff that shows the diversity of the student population. Students should be able to go into classrooms and take classes with teachers that look like them in some regards. Obviously, you can't have a school building full of just one race, whether that be white, African American, Asian, Hispanic, Eskimo, whatever it might be. But they should be able to look around and see some teachers that look like they do. And then create a space for discussion. Educators can promote inclusivity by creating environments where students can openly discuss thoughts and feelings about privilege and structural oppression. If a student feels some type of way, they need to be able to talk about it. It'll help them in the long run. We all know what that's like, being able to talk about how we feel about things. And that just promotes students feeling welcome and feeling invited. Those are some of my observations. All this information right here on this page came from the ASCD in 2018. And then on the next page is my reference page. If you'll note down here, I got a 404 error message when I tried to use the "What is an inclusive school" reference that was given to us. So it's not used in my presentation, nor did I post it on my reference. I didn't want to list it if it wasn't being used. So I appreciate everyone's attention, and I look forward to watching the rest of your videos and meeting everybody as we move forward. Thank you.